to us a little bit about his journey and what he expects for Thursday night in the draft. Can't wait to talk to him. Trey Lance coming up at 9 a.m.
He's going to the
We are back here with Mike Vick now. So this was interesting. NFL.com analyst Bucky Brooks floated an idea yesterday on Speak for Yourself. Said the Baltimore Ravens should consider trading up on Thursday for Justin Fields. You know, the Baltimore Ravens, who have an MVP quarterback already on the team, named Lamar Jackson. So what do you do with him? Bucky's got a plan for Lamar. Take a listen.
But when you look at the situation now where we are with Lamar Jackson is about to have his fifth-year option picked up. He's about to be a quarterback that commands maybe $40 million. Eric DeCosta said, man, it is really hard to build a team when the quarterback commands so much money. So why not this year? They traded away Orlando Brown to get 2 first-round picks. If Justin Fields happens to slide, they could be in range to grab Justin Fields, continue to have Lamar Jackson play on his fifth-year option, and then rather than pay him $40 million plus per, they could say, hello, graduation. We now have a redshirt freshman who is ready to pick up the deal. We can keep all of the assets and the pieces in place and continue to do what we do.
Now that's a take right there. Well, Mike, is Lamar Jackson replaceable for the Ravens?
You know, that's irrational thinking. You know, that's irrational thinking. And look, I love Bucky, man. Bucky's my guy. He's our colleague. Look, he's you know, I respect him, you know, on all levels. But I think he crossed the line on this one. Look, we're talking about a once-in-a-generational type of talent. I even heard people utter that Lamar Jackson in his first 3 years was better than me or any other mobile quarterback who's ever played the game, respectively. And I respect that. Look, people have their own opinions, but when you're saying things like that and then you watch him and you see him doing this, he's irreplaceable. You know, so I think, you know, what Bucky said is very irrational. You cannot speak in those type of terms right now. You know, when you have a guy who's a former MVP, who's one of the best players in the league, and no indictment on Justin Fields, like, or whoever he thinks the next guy should be. You know, these guys are coming in and they have some talent that needs to be unlocked. But you got Lamar Jackson, who's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the game of football, and where else you gonna get that? This only comes around 20, 30 years. I thought I would never see another quarterback like myself. And then here comes Lamar Jackson just ripping the league up.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, his play is everything. It's nothing that he can't do on the football field, run, pass. The only thing you got to do is kind of configure some things in the offensive game plan to make sure that he's comfortable and he can go out and execute at a high level in the passing game. But, man, that was so irrational. You know, it's the reason why some of us do TV, and it's the reason why some guys are general managers. And moves like that will get you fired as the general manager. So you got to be careful what you say and what you do.
Yeah, but Mike, Bucky, who I respect and love too, and who knows his stuff, he's responding off of what is coming out of Baltimore and what Coach Harbaugh said. Coach Harbaugh came out and said, well, we are the army of the NFL. Well, what does that mean? That means they're going to run the ball, and that quarterback is going to run the ball, and they are being stubborn in Baltimore and doing their job in developing your quarterback. Like doing your job and putting an offense together that makes sense. Hey, like we know Greg Roman is phenomenal at dialing it up.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Right, we know Greg Roman.
When it's all said and done,
no, go
Lamar's
ahead.
Still gonna be that guy's gonna be gone.
Right. It's hard to find a quarterback like this. What are you doing? So this whole, I wouldn't say it's Bucky because it started in Baltimore, but this whole philosophy, they're all tripping. You got Lamar Jackson, Greg Roman, you know your stuff. Do your job. Hold this guy accountable. Do whatever you got to do. Hold yourself accountable to develop the passing game. Go get wide receivers that can come in and compete at a high level. Right now, I'm not sure you have a #1 guy. You got to convince some of these wide receivers, or you got to draft a receiver that can come in and be a dog. You need an X wide receiver that can go back there and they can win one-on-one, no matter what, 90% slant. back shoulder, hitch route, 9-stop, go route. That's what you need. They don't have that guy right now. And so Lamar Jackson, Nick, is a guy, you know, that I believe can get it done at a high level, but it takes the whole organization being involved. Because if you don't have him, what's going to happen? You're not going to be in the playoffs. This guy took over in 2018 for Flacco, went to the playoffs. 2019 went to the playoffs, MVP. Last year went to the playoffs. He won his first one. So you don't just walk away from a guy like that, Nick.
And what's instructive is that's not the neighborhood the Ravens were living in prior to that. They win the Super Bowl with Flacco on that magical run. Over the next 5.5 years until Lamar took over, they were a sub-500 team. They were 43-46. They made the playoffs one time. Then Lamar took over. They've been the second-best team in the AFC, only to the Chiefs since then, as far as regular season success. So they are, whether Harbaugh wants to admit it or not, a team dependent on their star quarterback. They were on one track and then a totally different track once Lamar took over. That's why, Wilds, this specific ask or question about Lamar being replaceable rings hollow. But Bucky is absolutely on to something in the big picture. And that, to me, is what's more fascinating. I think it's wrong on Lamar, but there will be a team. I thought the Rams were going to do it with McVay and Goff, and I think they were considering it, and then they got squeamish at the end. They made a big mistake in signing Goff for the extension. There will be a team at some point that spends a first-round pick on a quarterback. That quarterback is good, but they know he is not good enough, and they will trade him rather than pay him, and so they can restart the cycle of cheap first-round pick at quarterback, stacked roster. I don't think Lamar is going to be that guy because Lamar has been the reason the Ravens are dominant in the regular season the last few years. But at some point, it will happen. I think that there was some people would have made the argument that's what the Browns should be considering. Like, are you going to pay Baker $42 million a year, or if you could get a couple first-round picks for him and start that cycle over? So I think the Rams were considering it with Goff, and then they didn't do it. So I do think, Wilds, that Bucky is on to something in the, macro. But on the micro with Lamar, I don't think the Ravens have any shot of doing this, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And I'll throw it back to you as our resident GM. It feels like this conversation is the cousin of the Russell Wilson conversation, where it's like, wow, we know you're great. Yes. We know we love you. You're important to this team. You're important to this city. But if I had a rookie quarterback like you were when you brought us to the Super Bowl making $500 grand rather than a guy who makes $40 million, I could probably do something with that $39 million. So the question for you is this, Nick. Do you think that rather than just cutting bait on a franchise quarterback, that we'll see a shifting of the pay scale? So maybe not everybody gets $40 million. You don't constantly point to the Jared Goff deal and say, well, I'm better than him. Look what he got. And the numbers come way down.
No, I don't think we're going to see a shift in the pay scale, but I do think we've seen this. This is exactly what's happening with Jimmy G, for the record. The Niners are like, nope, not worth $30 million. And his deal's coming up in 2 years. He's good, but he's not good enough. We would rather have the young quarterback on the rookie pay scale and be able to keep great players around him. And so